Hey everybody, hey Facebook, hey YouTube. This right here is my short review and thoughts on Super Bowl 52, which ended an hour ago, an hour and 30 minutes ago. First of all, before I start, I've been wanting to talk about football all season, long. So much awesome, so many awesome games this season, and so much awesome stuff to talk about. But reviewing football in comparison to reviewing MMA, boxing, and professional wrestling, reviewing football and similar ball sports like this is kind of hard. It's kind of hard, and it was kind of hard keeping track with every single game that that I played. So this will be a short review of Super Bowl 52. This will also be my overall thoughts of this entire season. I'm also going to be talking about several games I like, and then later on, after rewatching those games, giving my favorite games from this season. I will also be doing a longer Super Bowl 52 review later. Review much later. But this is a short review because it's hard to recollect everything that happened in this awesome Super Bowl and in this awesome season I watched. But first off, let's talk about how awesome this season was. This was one of the best football seasons I've seen. It was even bigger than last year's and the years before it. The game of football changes every the game of football changes every year and becomes more and more competitive, man, and more um unpredictable. I also kind of stopped caring midway during the season when my man, one of my favorite teams, Aaron Rodgers of the Green Bay Packers, when he went down and that's when I sort of stopped caring. I was an avid football watcher up until that point. After that, I kind of stopped and only watched my favorite teams and the teams that had a chance of making it to the playoffs. But but the Aaron Rodgers thing had killed the season for me because I wanted Aaron Rodgers and Tom Brady in the Super Bowl. In the Super Bowl, if not them, then I wanted one of the veterans, either Drew Brees of the Saints, Eli Manning of the Giants, or Roethlisberger of the Steelers to um win Super Bowl. If not, if if Rodgers and Brady didn't qualify um for Super Bowl this year, if if the veterans couldn't do it, then I want the younger guys. That's Bradford and Kanim of the Vikings. Vikings. Matt Ryan of the Falcons. Um, Trevor Simeon of the Broncos. Andrew Luck of the Colts. Dak Prescott of the Cowboys. Pretty much the younger Ryan Tannehill or Jay Cutler. Jay Cutler played this year for the Dolphins. The younger guys, if the veterans didn't do it, but I wanted the veterans to do it. So I was mostly paying attention. I was mostly paying attention to those teams. When Rodgers went down, that's when I kind of stopped watching. The best game of the year for me, besides Super Bowl and the various playoff positions I saw this season. The best game to me would have to be the Green Bay Packers versus the Cowboys in, I think it was week 5 of week week 6. I think it was week 5 or 6 of the NFL. You had both Aaron Rodgers and Dak Prescott coming back on each other throughout the entire game, and in the last several seconds of the game, the Packers, the last several seconds of the game, the Aaron Rodgers managed to come back for his team and win it, for his team. Then of course I think a week after that he would later fall to the Vikings. He would get injured and they had to replace Brett Hundley. I stayed around to see if Brett Hundley could hold down the fort until Rodgers returned in week 17 for the Panthers. In week 17, for the Panthers, the playoff position. Brett Hundley, he did a great job. He did a great job too. The the Brett Huntley's Green Bay Packers team versus the Browns team. That was the second game I watched. Yes, the Cleveland Browns. I'm actually sick of hearing Cleveland Brown jokes because the Cleveland Browns, they didn't win anything this season, but they played like champions, especially in that Packers game. That was one of the best games besides the Cowboy game I just saw. So yes, the Browns were in a best of um for me. So yeah, I kind of stopped following, but I still stayed to watch Tom Brady and the Patriots, man. Tom Brady and the Patriots and the Steelers. You had the Steelers who were just phenomenal this season up until the playoffs where they took the Jaguars lightly and the Jaguars upsetted them and met the Patriots in the AFC championships to decide who goes to the Super Bowl. And of course the Patriots won. The Patriots won, beat the Jaguars to advance the Super Bowl. Then of course you had the Steelers. So yeah, that was the Steelers. That was yeah. Then of course from the NFC side of things, I was paying heavily attention to the Saints, and the Vikings. Who the Vikings really surprised the hell out of me. The Vikings, I've always been a huge Vikings fan, but they, especially in this modern time, they were never my favorite to win any form of big time championship, big time game. But no, they actually ruled their division for a while. They actually ruled their division up until being beaten by the Eagles in the playoffs. They actually ruled and led their division. So I was really paying attention to them, and when I saw the playoff spots, when I saw how it was the Patriots, the Steelers, the Jaguars, the Titans, uh, the Chiefs, the Eagles, the Saints, and of course the Panthers and the Falcons. I was actually impressed with that playoff lineup. I was disappointed that the Cowboys and the Packers were nowhere near that lineup. But I was impressed with that lineup. The only thing I didn't like about that lineup were the Falcons, who, in my opinion, you're a Falcon fan, you probably want to cut the video off now because I don't have a lot of positive to say about them. While I applaud them for still managing to make the playoffs, and still have a pretty good season despite how badly they performed this year. I can forgive losing. I can even forgive choking. Yeah, last year when the Patriots won, I was complete total asshole and dickweed. I was always going up to my enemies or anyone who's ever wronged me, bragging about the 5 rings and bragging about the Patriots' success, saying they were the best and stuff. But after seeing how all these teams played like champions, it's not just about rings. Rings are actually the last thing. It's skill, intensity, and tenacity, and that's what I respect and like to see um when I watch football. When I watch football, and the Falcons, they haven't displayed any of that this season. None of those things. None of those things. They displayed a little bit of skill, thanks to the coaching and Matt Ryan's awesome leadership skills. But they performed terribly. They performed terribly um this season. And I did not want them in playoffs. So I was really happy the Eagles eliminated them. I wanted one of the teams to eliminate them, and if they somehow advance from playoffs to make Super Bowl again, I wanted Brady, Roethlisberger, or whatever team met them there to squash them, So I was happy that the Eagles eliminated the what's his name. The Eagles. I started paying attention to the Eagles after watching a highlight of the controversial Eagles and Patriots game from I think that was back in 2006. I think 2006. I can't remember the date of that event, but the controversial game, the Spygate that took place before it. So if the Eagles, that and LeGarrette Blunt, who was a Patriot last year, was a was a was a Eagles this season. Was an Eagles this season. So I started paying attention to the Eagles, and I liked what I saw. And I said, if they can, they were a favorite of mine to win. They were a favorite of mine to actually win, which is to win Super Bowl. And I didn't mind it. I'm not a super Eagles fan. I'm my top teams are Packers, Patriots, Vikings, Saints, Giants, Steelers, Cowboys, the Dolphins, the Buccaneers, your Florida teams, um, the Chiefs, Colts, and last but not least, the 49ers. Those are my top 12, 13. Can't I think it's 12. Yeah, I think it's 12. Those are my top 12 teams. Like all the teams in the NFL. I'm a huge fan of football and love watching awesome football. But those are my top teams, and the Eagles, uh, well, they were better this season, but they weren't better than those teams, in my opinion. But I didn't mind seeing the Eagles win their first championship. Brady already had 5 rings, and this season, Brady has already proven he was the best, not only by defeating the Falcons and the Seahawks in the previous 2 Super Bowls, by coming back from those huge point deficits, but this year, changing and evolving with times. Last year, offense and defense was weak. This season, offense and defense were on point. They were a complete team up until Super Bowl, up until Super Bowl. They were a complete team. So yeah, Brady, he had nothing left to prove. But if he can get 6 rings, that would be cool. If he can get 6 rings, so wanted Brady. I wanted Tom Brady of the Patriots to win, but I have no problems with the Philadelphia winning. I had no problem with Philadelphia winning because they deserve it to redeem themselves from that Spygate incident. Because I'm a huge Patriots fan, and I defended them on a lot of stuff with haters. But the Spygate, illegally spying on teams, I can't defend that, man. I can't defend that. So if the Eagles were to beat them, I wouldn't have a problem with it. And it would be good to see something new. I did say if the veterans can't do it, then I want the young guys to step up and say, you know what, I'm not going to wait till the veterans sit down. Our time is now, and that's what the Eagles did. That's what the Eagles and all the other teams did this season. Um, yeah, and I saw the Eagles' impressive victory when Carl Wentz went down. This is when I started doubting the Eagles. When Carl Wentz went down and Nick Foles took over. They I forgot who they beat they beat the Falcons to face the winner of the Vikings and Saint games. They punished the Vikings, who just barely escaped the Saints, by intercepting their ball. In another, that was another awesome game. I actually like and hate that game at the same time because I was a fan of both of those teams, the Saints and the Vikings. I hated seeing one lose. Both of those are 2 of my top 12 teams, and I hated seeing either one lose, especially the Saints the way they did lose. But it was an awesome game. And the Eagles punished the Vikings, the Vikings, and you had, like I said, the Jaguars surprisingly beat the Steelers. I thought it was going to be Tom Brady and Ben Roethlisberger of the Steelers again for the AFC Championship to see who advanced to the Super Bowl, but the Steelers took the Jaguars likely. As for the Jaguars, they surprised the hell out of me too. Now I don't think the Jaguars are as bad as a lot of people say they are. I've seen a lot of people hate Blake Bortles. If that was his name. Yeah, Blake Bortles. I saw him play a couple of games this past season. He was good. He was really good. He made playoffs. But I didn't give him a chance against the Steelers. When I saw the score, my cable was out up until today. I was watching the scores on Facebook, and I was surprised with what I was seeing, and then was surprised with the final score. Then I watched the highlights. So yeah, that's not over till it's over. The Steelers were looking ahead to what's his name. Well, continuing. So like I said, lots of games. I like every team. My least favorites being the Falcons and the Lions. The Falcons and the Lions, they hosted one of the worst games. I think it was week four. I think they hosted one of the worst games I've ever seen. In my opinion, the Falcon fans should not have been satisfied with that win, and the Lions just needed to STFU because they had multiple chances to score a touchdown, and they didn't succeed on any of them. Man, it was so much sloppy football, so much sloppy. None of these guys looked like they were in shape, and it was just terrible. It was just terrible. Now the Lions would later redeem themselves with an awesome performance against the Steelers, where they forced the game to go to a to a field goal to decide a winner. But man, both of those teams were just bad this season. They're two of my least favorite teams in football. Anyone but them in Super Bowl, man. If those two teams ever want to make Super Bowl, they got to play a lot better than what I saw this season or what I saw in that game that day. Yeah. So, yeah. Now on to Super Bowl 52. So Super Bowl 52, like I said, coming in, I had the Patriots winning. If it was Carl Wentz instead of Witchgall, then I would have probably picked the Eagles to win, even though I wanted the Patriots to win. But I saw the Patriots were going to win. I came into the game 30 minutes late. 30 minutes late. I took a long nap, and I had to watch it in the den. I watched the first half of the game, the first and second half of the game in the den, and I didn't watch the halftime show. I didn't care much for Justin Timberlake, even though having Justin Timberlake was much better than having Lady Gaga last year. So yeah, Justin Timberlake, that's something from my childhood and that I like. But I didn't care much for the halftime show, so I went back to my other activities went back to my other activities like playing with my dog until which goes up. I had my uncle finally fix my cable box, which I've been trying to do myself in the event that my uncle and mother weren't here. But finally, they fixed it. Watched the rest of the game in my room, and it was just exciting. Yeah, both teams constantly coming back on each other. It started off with the Eagles immediately taking the lead. It was 9-3 when I came in. They had they already took out Brandon Cooks, which had me worried. He was one of the best players for the Patriots this season. They took out Brandon Cooks, which that had me worried. I was right to worry for what would happen later. And then it was just awesome. Both the teams kept coming back on each other, kept coming back on each other. Then finally, I knew that when Brady got sacked, it was when Brady got sacked for the second time in the game. I knew it was over right there. But I still waited to see could he do what Aaron Rodgers did in the game with the Cowboys. Kept come back in the last several seconds, come back in the last several seconds, get several yards for a 2-down touchdown, and I think it was a field goal. Yeah, that's what they were trying to do. They couldn't do it. But it was awesome, man. It was awesome. I knew it was over when Brady went to stadium. It was awesome to see the Philadelphia Eagles win. Sucks to see Brady lose, but like I said, he has 5 rings. Let the Eagles have one, who have never had a ring. This is their first ring. And like I said, they redeemed themselves from the Spygate. Because like I said, I defend the Patriots on a lot of stuff, but the Spygate, I can't defend. I can't defend that. So it's good to see the Eagles finally avenge their loss, redeem themselves. They were the underdogs and finally triumph and become champions. And Brady has nothing to be ashamed of. That was an awesome game. So much not only so much technique in this game. So many awesome moves. It was like a game of chess. This entire football game. It was just so unpredictable. So yeah, yeah. Well, that's all I have to say for now. I gotta rewatch and remember everything that happened in that game. But that's pretty much a short summary of this game and this entire season, which has been awesome. I hope next year's season is just as good, if not better, than this one was right here. All right, I've talked longer than I wanted to. I've talked for over 20 minutes. I'm finished.